All right, what's up, everybody? It's the Coach Potatoes, Ben, TJ, and Anthony. We're back again for episode 14. We're now in December. We have a huge podcast for you guys today. We have what I would say, quote-unquote, loaded mashed potatoes.
So with alcohol?
Nice. With alcohol. I was just thinking like bacon and cheese and...
Got it.
I've never had
different types of loaded.
I've never had alcohol mashed potatoes before, but
I didn't realize that you were going to lose Bill for the loaded potato reference.
very confusing. And then,
Whiskey.
and then we'll go into our usual NFL. What is this, week 14 coming up? 13?
Is it 13?
It's 14. Because I'm 10-3 in fantasy.
Okay,
It's 14, I
sure.
Right?
I don't know.
think. I'm pretty sure it's 14. What's the Rams' record?
11,
And you had to buy.
12, 13.
So now we're going into 14. You have 12 games played in your record, 11-1.
That's week 13.
That's week 13.
Week 13 is what happened.
13 just happened. We're going into 14.
Oh, yeah,
That's
you're
what I'm saying.
right.
Okay. So we'll go through week 13. We'll go into week 14. So we're nearing the end of the season. The playoff picture is still pretty muddy, but we'll go through it. So we're going to start off loaded potatoes. First off, before we do, though, thanks for everyone that's following and retweeting. I know we got to 400, I think, since our last episode.
We're like 4:30 now.
4:30,
So
so
appreciate it.
Keep following, retweeting, send us questions, and we'll give you the best answers we can, or Bill will just give you some horrible answer. But
If you didn't notice, TJ had his phone because we're recording this on a camera. Thanks to you guys, we raised $0. So this is out of our pocket, so we expect some dividends. Thanks, guys.
we don't expect some dividends, but as long as you watch, we'll be happy.
I'll take it.
So let's hop into loaded potatoes. We're going to start with baseball. Patrick Corbin today, 6 years, $140 million, went to the Nationals. I don't think the contract is surprising to me. I think the team was. I fully expected him to go to the Yankees.
The contract is 100% surprising to me. He does not deserve $140 million. No, sorry. I hate to break it to you, Nats, but you overpaid. And they're paying something like $400 million for 3 starting pitchers. Which Scherzer is making like $200.
Scherzer's worth it.
I agree. Strasburg's making like $170, and then now you got Corbin on the roster at $140.
I would argue Corbin's better than Strasburg. Strasburg's good for strikeouts, but has he been as good as advertised? He can't.
Corbin went 11-7 last year.
Okay, he also had the worst.
3.1.
That's like probably the worst offense in baseball.
He is not worth $140 million. I'm sorry. He's good. I'm not saying he's not good. He's a solid starter. He is a good pitcher. He's a good lefty, which is always nice to have in the lineup, especially with Scherzer and Strasburg being your other 2 aces who are both righties. It's good to have a lefty ace in there. But, no. $140 mil, you overpaid by about $100 mil.
Wrong. They don't bring $100 million. I think the D-backs knew that they couldn't re-sign him, and I mean, I think Goldschmidt's going to be traded to Dunn anyway, so I see them just kind of starting over. What I do find interesting, though, is that I don't care about the Patrick Corbin thing necessarily, but I wonder how this puts them in places if they almost know that there's no way they're getting Bryce back.
Bryce Harper.
Yes.
Hey, look at that.
Because he's gonna get probably the biggest deal ever when he comes out.
Maybe.
We
That's already offered him $300 million. He turned it down.
Yeah, because he thinks he's gonna get more.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's offering him more than $300 million.
Oh, I think teams do. I don't think so. I think so.
I think if a team is smart, they would not.
Okay, well, the teams aren't smart. They just take Patrick Corbin on for a month, so apparently that was the going price. But regardless, I think I wonder if they know that he's like out the door because I can't see their cap space. I don't know their situation. Maybe they have a bunch of guys that are free agents, after next year. But this is Bryce's last year, right? After this year, he's a free agent.
Yes.
And until Trout comes up again, I think Bryce Harper is going to eventually sign probably the biggest contract we've seen yet. I think what's the most recent one? Stanton's probably just 10-year, just insane deal with the Marlins.
Yeah.
That
was a nuts deal.
But I see the Yankees, and as much as you probably would hate to see it happen, I could see your coach paying him a boatload of money to go there. Because although we have argued and we have agreed on the podcast, he is not a top 5 player in either of our minds. No. Maybe not top 10. There's a debate there, but there's definitely some players that play more a position that's at more of a premium, like Altuve at second or someone like that.
Right.
But I think he's, as Bill just helped prove my point, he's probably one of, if not the most recognizable name and face in baseball.
Subway.
I'm not sure.
Oh, that's Mike Trout. Damn it, never mind. But that's another player I know.
Mike Trout is probably up there as well, but I think Bryce Harper is more recognizable than Trout. And because of that, he sells jerseys, he does all that stuff. So I see him getting a big-time deal. I just wonder where this Corbin deal pushes the Nats.
Yeah, I could see that as a kind of a writing on the wall that they're basically going to pay pitching to offset the loss of a big bat type thing. So, I don't know. I really hope, and I really hope it's not the fucking Cubs, that pay him
and Brian are like
over
this, though.
That is true. And sadly, the Cubs, they're obviously one of the wealthiest organizations. They have the money to pay him that type of salary. I just hope they don't, because I think they would be grotesquely overpaying.
Silver lining, if you get him, that means you get to get rid of Jason Hayward. So.
He is balls.
There you go.
Jason Hayward is crap.
There you go. So, all right, so let's move into basketball. It came out today that Markelle Fultz is going to be out currently 3 to 6 weeks for like a shoulder issue. It had some weird medical thing.
Like a thoracic outlet syndrome, I think.
Yeah, something like
called.
that.
Does Philly care?
I think they care. So I read some. So he was the number one pick. So the number one pick in the NBA, you would think. So typically in basketball, I normally think that the top picks seem more clear cut than in any other sport. Like in baseball, they don't always pan out, right? In football, they don't always pan out. We've seen that, and that's probably because, as we talked about, they reach for quarterbacks. But in the NBA, normally if they're like the number one pick, they're going to be good. Like LeBron's good.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like. But the number one picks, look at the last 6 years. They've been kind of. Karl Anthony Towns was phenomenal. Anthony Davis was phenomenal. Anthony Bennett sucked.
Yep.
Markelle Fultz has sucked. I can't even think of some of the other ones that have probably been number one. Ayton's the jury's still out. He's playing good. He's doing like 17 and 12. And, I just don't know if it goes to the class wasn't that good that year. Was that what? Last year was he a rookie?
Yeah.
So like the rookie of the year was what, Donovan Mitchell? I guess no one really saw. I guess then it was Ben Simmons, but really it was the year before.
He wasn't a rookie. That was bullshit.
So Donovan Mitchell. So it was kind of a down class to begin with. Ball went second, and he hasn't been that great either. But if you're the Sixers, I don't think Fultz is even the second best point guard on the roster. I think T.J. McConnell's better than he is. I'm a little biased, but McConnell plays harder.
I agree.
And as sad as it is, he's probably better on offense after they fuck with Markelle Fultz's shot. So
Fultz has been garbage at the time he's played.
And I know McConnell's definitely probably a better passer and better on defense. So I don't think they really care. I think their team is basically as it is. It's Simmons, Embiid, and Butler, and they're going to go as far as those three can take them.
Yeah. Which is the playoffs, and he'll be healthy by then. So I really don't think this is a setback. I don't think it's a setback. It's going to get to the point here, though, where it's just like they've done so much. I know you want them to be good, but I feel like McConnell should get those minutes. I think he gives you a better chance to win. We'll see how the season goes, but there was rumors that came out that teams offered the Sixers a second-round pick for McConnell, and they didn't want to do the trade. So if you don't want to trade him, but you're not going to play him, you got to figure something out. Because right now he doesn't play enough minutes. I don't think. They gave him up for a second round.
Yeah. There's rumors that last year the Cavaliers offered him a second-round pick when LeBron was still there, and then they denied. They didn't want to do the trade.
I can see that. They didn't want to make an Eastern Conference rival better.
That's true. So we'll see what happens, but it's not a huge loss. So then we've got UFC fight this weekend, and who is it?
Max Holloway and Brian Ortega. Big one. This has been in the makings for a little bit. It's a big one. It's a big one.
Oh, there's a big one. I was like, is that a camera thing? I don't know.
But we are just losing Bill tonight.
I think it's a big one. Go.
No, a big fight. That Ortega's coming off a big win where he fucking stones Frankie Edgar. Yeah, Frankie never been finished. Fucking put his lights out.
He uplifted him a couple of inches. It was scary.
We were all together watching that fight.
Yeah.
It was fucking crazy. And then they were supposed to fight. What was it?
It was
a couple months ago.
A couple months back. It was this year.
Yeah.
Earlier this year.
And Holloway had to back out due to injury, but he's healthy. He's ready to fight.
Might have been in the summer because I know Ortega last fought in March, and I thought it was a quick turnaround for him to fight Holloway.
Yeah.
But then Holloway had to pull out for unknown reasons. Reasons they still don't know actually.
Shut up.
I don't know. Well,
Yeah, so this is a big one, and man, I'm not really sure if I think there's a clear cut winner in this one. This is going to be a battle.
Well, this one's tough because they both come in with, in my mind, almost the same skill sets. They're tall, lanky guys, both who are willing to strike only because they both know they have dirty ground games. Yep. Now, I would give Holloway the advantage in striking. I would give Ortega the advantage on the ground. But other than maybe slight advantages on both sides, they almost have the exact same skill set. They're both lanky. They're both tall. That's a tough one. It's hard to, especially since Holloway's been out for I think we saw over a year at this point. Ortega just fought in March. I mean, Holloway, his last 2 fights were both knockouts, so Jose Aldo. So it's tough to say, ring rust is going to play a factor. But that is a tough one. Like I said, same skill sets.
That's what makes it tough. I think they're both skilled enough in each aspect of the game that they'll want to respect that about the other, which could make I wouldn't be surprised. If the first round, maybe not the entirety of it, but a lot of it in the first round is going to be feeling each other out. You're going to see a lot of keeping each other's distance. Probably won't be too much. Not to say too much engagement, but I think they're going to respect each other a good bit before they start really kind of getting into the nitty gritty and start trying to, do some damage and make some headway. But I think this one goes the distance.
I don't know. They both have such good weapons. The only way I see it going the distance, if it ends up being one of those fights where they respect each other too much, and neither one of them goes for a submission or goes for that one strike.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as bad as like we saw with Ngannou and Black Beast, where like neither of them even threw a punch like all fight.
Right. Well, that's your problem with heavyweights is even when it goes the distance, they're pretty slow moving. At least with these guys, it's going to look like more is being done just because of the sheer speed of it.
Right.
I don't know. They're both killers. I really don't think it will. I might be focusing too much on it, but it really bugs me that they don't know what was wrong with Holloway.
Yeah.
Like, they said concussion-like symptoms. I don't know if any of you guys saw that interview. He literally looks like he's, like, stoned, talking to Bisping, and he was like, haha, yeah, man.
Slurring words. It was weird.
It was, and they don't know what it was. They said he was fine. He obviously was not fine. So is that...
Oh, yeah, God.
So is that...
got sued if they would have let him fight.
Oh, yeah. So is that, like, a chronic thing? Was it a one-time off? He just doesn't want to fess up to it. Maybe he was just high one interview. I don't know. But they haven't said what it is. His camp's not saying what it is. I just heard an interview from him. He said he's fine, so we're gonna take him at face value. But he comes in with that face. I mean, what do you do? That's what I'm more worried about for him. I don't think the ring rust would be too much of an effect on him.
Yeah, I think he's too high caliber of a fighter to be affected by the ring rust. But he's definitely making a comeback into a hell of a fighter.
He's undefeated Brian Ortega.
Dude is a beast.
Finishing people off on the feet as well as on the ground. You know what? I might be a little biased. I think I'm going to go with Ortega. And the reason why I'm biased is I've known this guy even before in the UFC. He trained with Hudon and Henry Gracie. He's in all their damn instructional videos. T-City. His triangles. And Henry's even in his corner every time he walks out.
Yep.
So, a little biased. I'm going to go with Ortega, but I like both fighters. This is a great division.
Yeah, I agree. I think I am going to go Ortega as well. His ground game is world class. Obviously, we just went over being the Gracie schools and just being world class in jiu-jitsu. And to have the stand-up game he does, and to start somebody like Frankie Edgar, one of the most respected fighters in the game.
Never been KO'd.
Yeah, and to put him out in the fashion that he did, I think that's got to carry some weight. And I think Max, as good as he is going to take the L on Saturday.
And yeah, like I said, we just said Ortega trains with the Gracies. The Holloway trains with a very respective jiu-jitsu class as well. That's why I think they're both coming in with almost the exact same skill set, with slight edges on each side. But I'll say Ortega, he's got the momentum on his side. And again, that unknown condition with Holloway, being out for over a year. Again, I wouldn't say ring rust. His timing might be a little off. I guess that might be but it's gonna
Sounds like it.
I think something will be a little off, and I don't know if he'll recover in time before Ortega can catch him with something.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if you'd see something like not that you saw it, so like with Ronda when she got tagged, obviously Holly knocked her out with the kick further around the world.
Yeah,
And then
no,
when she
I
fought
don't think
Nunes,
it'll be like that.
When she got hit, she was like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah.
I'm wondering if something like that would happen. If it was something like a concussion or some type of head issue, if he gets tagged or something, if he's like, "Fuck," and then freeze up like that, and then just get tagged a bunch of times and get knocked out. I hope not, because that was just sad to see. But yeah, Ortega, calling it here.
Yep. And then we got co-main, the women's flyweight, Valentina Shevchenko and Joanna Jurczyk. I always think of Michael Jackson. Jurczyk.
Please God, don't ever do that again. Somewhere Michael was turning over his grave.
I saw him impersonator in Vegas, so he's alive. He's very good. But anyway, both of these
Okay then.
both of these ladies ran into their respective division champs, couldn't beat them, so now they're both meeting at, I think I just read flyweight. Joanna's going up from straw, and Shevchenko's going down from bantam.
Yep.
I mean, they're both strikers.
I would argue that straw weighs more than flies, but
I'm not the one that makes these divisions.
apparently someone has been knocked out a couple times. The names.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that would, yeah. I think that's how it works because there's no way Shevchenko would go 2 divisions down. I think flyweight's the middle one, is the Goldilocks one. But I think just by virtue of that,
What's the lightest weight? Straw?
I believe it's straw.
So.
I think it's straw, fly, bantam, feather, light. But for girls, there's no light. Or feather. Cyber might be feather. I don't know. I can't remember. But they don't go up to lightweight. They're not that heavy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because 150 is not heavy. I would give my left testicle to 150.
Would you really?
So I watch a lot of UFC a lot, so maybe I judge myself on too high of standards, but when I see dudes like 6-something, 150, I'm like, oh boy, I need to change something. Like they're at top of their peak condition, I could be at least under 200, but I'm sitting at 5'10", 260, got problems. I would be a heavyweight. I would fight Black Beast if I was on the UFC.
I'd be like a foot shorter.
That's how I judge myself. I see people like Ngannou, like, oh shit, I would have to fight this guy.
Oh god, I would pay fucking $120 to see that pay-per-view.
There's not an amount of money I would ever not pay to want to go fight a heavyweight UFC fight.
That'd be fantastic. Anyway,
back
to Jurczyk and Shevchenko.
So I believe Shevchenko was a professional boxer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
I could be.
exactly.
Yeah. But Joanna's known for being a striker. Just for straight virtue of the weight class, I think Shevchenko's going to come in much bigger. I would give it to Shevchenko.
I agree with you that Shevchenko's coming in a little bigger.
That and the people they lost to, which may or may not be something fair to judge, but Shevchenko's coming off losing to Amanda Nunes, who I think is just a fucking savage.
She is.
Whereas Joanna, while I love Nama Nunes,
Yeah,
Rose
Namajunas.
While I love her spirit, her moxie. I don't think she's as big of a beast as Nunes is. Like, different weight classes, I don't think they'll ever fight unless this exact thing happens to them too. But I just think Shevchenko will just have a little bit more edge against Joanna.
I think Joanna's got the striking skills to get it done. Taking Jurczyk.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see that coming. Only because I can't remember any of the other fighters. I'm just going to leave that those two. Okay. Main and co-main.
Okay.
That's a lie. I remember some of them, but I don't remember where they're fighting.
Jimmy Manuel was fighting.
Thiago Santos.
Yeah.
No comment there.
Quick
Both
wins.
are kind of...
Quick winner picks.
Manuel's coming off 2 losses. Thiago Santos, I believe he won his last fight, but both of
Yeah.
them are still trying to claw their way in light
they're like
light heavyweight division.
Those middle of the pack light heavyweights. Jimmy's gotten kind of up to no, I think we're on number 6 or 5, and then he takes an L and then he drops back down.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna take Manuel though. I'm taking Manuel on that one.
I don't think Thiago Santos. Alex Cowboy Oliveira and Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson was a hot commodity at one point, and then he lost a couple. Now he's kind of cooled off. Everyone, I mean, because he was a teammate of McGregor's, of course.
Yeah.
As well. He kind of got cold. I don't know. Cowboy's very respected as well. Cowboy Oliveira.
Yeah, I'm
There's
taking Oliveira.
two Cowboys. I'll go Alex Oliveira as well. And yeah, this is the one that I have no idea. Hakeem Dawadu and Kyle Bochniak. Actually, Kyle Bochniak sounds familiar. He has also competed for CES MMA.
That's my favorite time I haven't met. He's fully nude.
Unbelievable. I honestly don't know either, but either one, I'm not gonna make a prediction there.
Yeah, I don't know enough about either of those two. Hit us with the next loaded topic.
You just think you're so funny.
I was just thinking of just hilarious puns like rear naked poke. Versus MMA. Alright, so shifting gears.
Head and wing joke. No? Oh, that one was bad.
You said just a head and wing joke.
What are we talking
Alright, so switching gears. Let's do college football first. So it came out today that Kelly Bryant is leaving Clemson, going to Missouri. I don't think it's any shock that he's transferring. I'm a little shocked it's Missouri.
Yeah, I think the Missouri landing spot is what's intriguing about this.
But after
SEC, no?
They are in the SEC.
yes. But he's leaving Clemson basically because Taylor Lawrence, Sunshine, took his job. What I think for Clemson was the right thing to do. Kelly Bryant was kind of like, he was like Jalen Hurts, not as good at running, but a little bit better at throwing. But he wasn't like the greatest passer either, where Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be like the greatest passer to ever play the game. So I'm just a little shocked. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of Missouri college football, so I don't know what offense they run. But I'm assuming it must be a spread. That's the only thing offense I could see him going to run. I just think that if he would have waited to see maybe at the end of the year who left, like if Dwayne Haskins leaves, maybe go to Ohio State, or you know what I mean? Like whoever leaves, you can kind of fill in from there and go other places. But a little shocked by Missouri, but he was good at Clemson, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he was. I wasn't that impressed with him.
Did he want to, or they did the right thing? Because he could have just ridden the train.
No, he wants to
Just
play
like
because he's now on the bench. So
Understandable.
Yeah, unlike Hurts, who knows, like, I don't give a shit if I'm backing up. I'm going to get another fucking title. So,
So you're going to transfer at the end of the year. So technically, if Clemson wins,
he's not going to do shit in the NFL, so.
Yeah.
He's just going to ride out his college glory.
And then also happened today, Urban Meyer stepping down. He's 54. I didn't know he was that young. I thought he was a little bit older than that, but 54.
Pretty young.
He cited that it was the cyst that they found in his brain that's causing him headaches. And not that that's not a very serious medical issue, but part of me has a feeling that it's other things that are also causing him headaches.
Yeah.
Which is why he is now stepping down.
The college football playoffs? Is that what you're referring to?
No. So earlier this year was
This player's beating women and shit like
well,
that.
assistant coach. He had an
Oh!
assistant coach who apparently found out that he was beating his wife. That came out to the world. And it came out that apparently Urban Meyer's wife knew about it. And therefore people assumed, obviously nothing's proven, but
He knew about
people assumed that Urban Meyer knew about it because his wife knew about it. So it's kind of like how guilty by association. He was suspended, the first 3 games this year?
For that?
Yeah. When people thought that he should have been fired. So part of me thinks that this also happened, like, TJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty close to when the season was about to start.
Yes.
Like, very close. So I have a
Like
feeling,
a month, at least.
I have a feeling behind closed doors, there's kind of a conversation that said, hey, obviously they don't want Ohio State football to just, like, implode and just be done. So I have a feeling there might be a conversation that said, we're going to spend 3 games, we're going to finish up this year, but then after that, like, you may need to go. But we don't want to fire our coach a month before the season and have a shit season and everyone decommits.
Right.
As of right now, I saw only one person decommit. He's like a 4-star. And he didn't really decommit. He just reopened his commitment. But they're bringing in, can't remember his first name, but Day, is it Zach Day or something? Their offensive coordinator to be the new head coach. So I don't think they'll lose a lot of recruits. He's a well sought after offensive coordinator. In general, but he was asked today if he was completely out of coaching, and he didn't really think so. So I guess if you guys have comments on Urban Meyer, but do you think he coaches again? He's 54.
So I think the answer kind of depends. If it truly is strictly because of the medical issue, obviously that's kind of the timetable on that will depend on how serious it is, or is it treatable, or whatever. Obviously, we hope it is, so that way you don't want to see anything tragic happen. But if that's not the sole motivation behind it, and if it's kind of like the behind closed doors discussion, and Ohio State was like, "Hey, we're going to keep you this season, then you're going to get the fuck out." Yeah, because we can't have that type of PR. Absolutely think he'll coach again. It's no coincidence that he's been uberly successful everywhere he's gone. Starting at, what was it, Bowling Green?
Utah's start, I think.
Was it Utah? I can't remember. I thought he was at Bowling Green first.
I thought I heard today it was Utah, and then he went to Florida, and obviously won 2 national titles, and then took a break for health stuff. I think it was his heart at that time, right?
I don't remember.
I think that's why he left Florida. He eventually retired from Florida, and then came back to work at Ohio State.
Yeah, so he's won national titles, and at least competed for conference titles and postseason play basically everywhere he's gone. So I think he will absolutely coach again if this the cyst on his brain is the only thing holding him back, and that's just something he needs to get treated first so he can kind of get his health where he wants it to be. Absolutely think he'll take probably a seat at a bigger program too. He's only 54. He's still got plenty of time, plenty of years that he can take the sidelines.
You're right. It was Bowling Green. He was there from 01 to 02.
Yeah,
so maybe a year or two.
So he had success there, and I think he's just kind of climbed up the ladder as far as prestigious schools go. So I absolutely think he'll coach again. If his desire is still to coach, he just has to deal with this medical thing first.
If he's dealing with all these health conditions, life's short. I guess if I were him, first off, if I were him, when I got my first full-time job, I literally looked in the mirror and went, "Can't wait till I retire." So if he has enough financial savings, I say, why not just retire? Season tickets at Florida or Ohio State, and you just post up.
I don't think the money is an issue for him.
Well, if it's enough for football, at this rate, if that really what they kicked him, they agreed upon a peaceful separation. I would just be like, I'm tired of dealing with this high school, college bullshit. I'm gonna go to the pros because he's old enough. Like you said, he's built a name. Green Bay's looking for a coach, whether or not they entertain Urban Meyer.
Plot twist.
Whether or not they entertain him or not, he can be a coordinator somewhere. And where I'm not going to say they're lenient with rumors like that, but they're far more forgiving than college, the NCAA. So if he's really worried about stuff like that, he wants to take it easy and not have all that pressure on him. Maybe that helps his health also. Well, cyst, I don't think is anxiety related or
going to the NFL.
Going to the NFL would help alleviate some of that stress. Is what I'm saying. Because he wouldn't be if he doesn't be a head coach. Yeah, if he doesn't be a head coach, he becomes a coordinator. Try his hand out. Hell, why not? You have plenty of coaches try out, big name coaches. Maybe he's the next Pete Carroll, or maybe he's like Chip Kelly and decides to go back. But you don't know till you try. He's at the right age. He's got the right pedigree. Why not? Try being a coordinator, not an offensive coordinator, but give it a shot. And if it's with the Packers, that'd be fucking money as your first job. I doubt he would start there. He'd probably go with the Browns.
So this might be the first time ever I almost completely agree with Bill.
Sweet.
Which is...
And Ohio State, Cleveland.
I think regardless of why he retired, whether it's a health thing, I think he's done in college. And the reason I say this is because he left Florida, I guess I looked up. He didn't really leave, but he was on a leave of absence for health reasons. And, he didn't really recruit and all this stuff, and then he ultimately took the job at Ohio State. He's from Ohio. He went to Ohio State. That's like his hometown school. He grew up rooting for Ohio State. I think he took that job because of that. I think if he had the health concerns and there was any other job that offered him, I think he would have turned it down. I think he took the Ohio State job just because that was like his dream job. So I can't see him just going to another school away from his home to coach another team. Obviously, there's money there, and we don't know what's going to happen. But with the health reasons, and you just left your dream job, so why? So I guess my answer is one of two things. I think he could go back to Ohio State as some sort of like Chuck Cecil was at Arizona. He's like a defensive specialty coach. Like he's kind of like like an advisor type person, like defensive advisor. I could see him doing that as some type of job at Ohio State. maybe like athletic director or something. Obviously, you might not want to do that, but something like that. But I do think the NFL is a possibility, just because he could stay in Ohio. The Browns are going to need a coach again, probably at some point.
And an offensive coordinator.
And a coordinator.
Yeah, and a coordinator. And I think that's just more of a, you don't rub the Ohio State fans wrong. Like, you left us, and then 2 years later you went and coached somewhere else. Like,
Right.
I do kind of see the NFL as an option, and he hasn't been there. I looked it up. I don't think he's been to the NFL at all in his career, at any of his coaching stints.
He's been
So he was in high school, and then he was Ohio State grad assistant, and then he was at Illinois State, Colorado State, Notre Dame as a wide receiver coach, and then Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, Ohio State head coaches. So he's never been to the NFL. So I could see someone taking a chance just to give him a call. He obviously gets well with people, and just that would be interesting. I think for the Browns, at least. I mean, if you're interviewing Condoleezza Rice, what the fuck else? What's the problem with calling Urban Meyer?
Yeah.
Just
Wendy runs a pretty pro-style team at Ohio State, so I don't think it would be as hard as somebody like a Chip Kelly who runs that weird spread, option offense like he did at Oregon. I don't think it would be a smoother transition. So
Yeah.
I think that could be a possibility.
Yeah, I think it too is both saying that the NFL is more lenient and not condoning what Urban Meyer did. If he knew about it, he should have reported it, and it is what it is. But he wasn't the one doing the crime,
Right?
So that's a big distinction. He should have reported it, yes, and that's obviously something that he knows should have done. But there's a big distinction between that and actually doing the crime yourself.
Well, and then what I'm saying is, on the side of if he didn't know about it, he wouldn't have been suspended for people just going, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
the NFL would have done its own investigation, not come up with anything, and then nothing would happen.
I mean, you take a year or two off, you're 56, and then the Browns call saying, "Hey, we need a head coach or offensive coordinator." Like,
Yeah, we had 2 head coaches the past 2 years, and we need another one. So
there's coaches in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, Tom Coughlin was coaching, and he was like 75. So
yeah.
Well, and how juicy of a job is that? You got a rookie in Baker, rookie this year. You still have Jarvis Landry. You got actually a pretty good defense. They just need a couple more pieces and not dump plays.
Yeah. I don't see him coaching this year. It would be like after the Browns hired another coach and then just fire him after 2 years. That probably would be that job.
After the next coach goes 3 and 30 or whatever. So.
All right, last one. College football playoff came out. Or last one for college football, I should say. College football playoff came out.
Yep.
Alabama.
Exactly how I thought it would.
Alabama's playing Oklahoma, and we've got Clemson playing Notre Dame. I think 1, 2, 3 was known even going into last weekend. Basically, once Notre Dame finished, once all 3 of those teams finished undefeated. I think Oklahoma, we kind of expected to be in there based on the way the committee put it. They had Oklahoma already at 5, and it was basically 4, 5, and 6. If 4 wins, you're in. If 5 wins and 4 loses, 5's in. If 6 wins and 4 and 5 lose, then 6's in. And that's just kind of the way it's going to be. Oklahoma ended up winning. Georgia lost to Alabama. Oklahoma ends up getting in.
Poor Georgia. I don't really think they were going to win. Granted,
I think
it was closer. I'll give them credit. It was closer than what everyone thought.
Georgia was dominating that game.
So first of all,
that's true.
First of all,
before 2 got
we probably expected these 4, right? All 3 of us, I think, after the weekend ended.
Yes.
I guess Oklahoma. Oh, after the weekend, yeah.
After the weekend ended and Oklahoma won, we expected these 4. Do we think they got the right 4?
Yeah. Not after watching the Alabama-Georgia game.
I agree. I think Georgia's better than Oklahoma.
I think if you were to have a play-in game and Georgia and Oklahoma were playing for the 4 spot, I think Georgia would run away with it.
Oh, if you're arguing about that 4 spot, you go right ahead. If you were arguing for Alabama not being in it, what we saw last year, they should be in it.
No, Alabama, Clemson. So let me rephrase it this way. I think Alabama and Clemson and Notre Dame deserve to be in. Fine. I think Oklahoma technically also deserves to be in. But if I'm putting in the 4 best teams, not based on record, but the best teams that I've watched played, Georgia's better than Oklahoma. And I would argue that Ohio State is also better than Oklahoma and Notre Dame.
Well, and when I was saying...
I don't want to hear this, it's the 4 best teams. It's the 4 best teams that also meet the best record criteria, is what it really is. Because I think if Notre Dame played Ohio State on a neutral site, Ohio State would be favored.
I probably agree with that.
And I think if Georgia played Oklahoma,
played Ohio State.
No, if Notre Dame and Ohio State played. Alabama and Clemson should be 1-2, guaranteed all day long. I don't disagree with either of those two. They both went undefeated. They ran away with teams. They look like the two best teams. After that, though, Notre Dame played teams. I agree that it's not their fault that the teams they scheduled were dumped this year, but USC wasn't as good as they normally are. They did beat Michigan, who got
early on
thwarted by Ohio State. It was the first game of the year. I think if Ohio State or Georgia were to play Oklahoma or Notre Dame on neutral sites, I think Ohio State and Georgia would be favored against both those teams.
And when I said poor Georgia, I wasn't just alluding to they were going to lose to Alabama, even though it was close. I was more alluding to even if they deserved to be in, they weren't going to be because they were going to lose.
I think the committee is thankful that Bama came back and won that game. Because
That
had
was
Georgia
easy.
won, Bama's taking the 4. I don't think anybody's going to even dispute it.
And Georgia.
I think the committee wanted Georgia to win because then you can't piss anyone off. If Georgia beats Alabama, which is clear away the best team, and Alabama's one loss is Georgia, who's ranked 4, you have no dispute because Ohio State and Oklahoma both have losses worse than losing to number 4.
Yeah, where I think so. This is where I completely agree with Ohio State was never in the debate in my eyes. It's because they're a one-loss team. They got blown out by fucking 4 touchdowns to Purdue.
True.
That's their loss.
I agree.
Everyone's allowed to have a bad
It's true, but not.
Not when you're trying to get
It
the
hurts.
top 4 teams.
It hurts you, but you can't take it at face value.
So it goes both ways though, because if you look at it like, so you gotta take your wins with your losses, right? So yeah, Ohio State lost to Purdue, which is a bad loss, but they only had 1 loss, which means that they still beat Michigan, which is an incredible win.
Yep.
They still had to beat good teams, to only have 1 loss.
I agree.
So it's like, that's why I kind of hate the bad loss, good win crap, because if Ohio State finishes, I don't know, they finished 11-1, right? And let's say their 1 loss was Michigan, and then you're like, oh, well, they lost to the one good team on their schedule. Well, they beat Purdue. That must have been an easy win. But then they lose to Purdue. We're like, oh, Purdue shit. I can lose to them. It doesn't matter if they beat Michigan. I hate that crap because if you only have 1 loss, you have to lose to someone, whether they're good or bad. And that means you're either beating bad teams, and everyone's like, oh, you didn't beat anyone good. Or you're losing to bad teams, like, oh, you beat people good, but you lost to bad teams, so you're shit.
Yeah.
Because the bad thing is Michigan was good, so had Michigan beat them, they would be considered.
Oh, Michigan would be in if they beat Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, so
Because they would have beat Northwestern.
So Notre Dame beat Michigan by a touchdown.
Again,
Ohio State took a fucking 4-touchdown dump on Michigan.
And they beat Michigan first week of the year,
Yeah.
which I get it, that game counts. But I think if we rank the games from games that count the most to count the least, week 1 counts the least.
Well, that's why they should schedule
Dumps?
Yeah, like Arizona. I mean, Arizona's not competing for a playoff spot, but that is why you get your tune-up games. So once you're playing all these good teams, you're hitting the ground running, and you have no excuse for losing.
The problem is, so it's not really Notre Dame's fault. The problem is for other schools is that because of the way the schedules work out, you have to schedule your non-conference games like your first 3.
Incorrect, because Bama always gets the Citadel like week 10.
Correct, but that's like the one team. Everyone else normally schedules their non-conference the first 3 up front because everyone runs their schedules. You know what I mean?
So where I agree with you, where the caveat is Notre Dame isn't in a conference, so they basically play pure non-conference.
Correct.
Games. They can play
that's what
anywhere.
I'm saying. They could have played them anyway.
They need to get rid of Ball State, Vanderbilt, Pitt. Northwestern ended up being in the Big Ten title game, so that one sort of paid off for them. You know, Syracuse ended up being a lot better than what was.
But they beat like ranked Virginia Tech, who wasn't that good.
Yeah.
USC wasn't that good. So they got lucky and unlucky because they scheduled good teams that were supposed to be good that weren't good, and vice versa. The way I see it though is that if you're going to sit here and tell me that it's the 4 best teams, I think the 4 best teams on paper in order are Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State.
I think Oklahoma. I would still put Oklahoma in the 4th.
Ahead of Ohio State?
Yes. The reason I say that is because they basically had the same resume going in, and Oklahoma had more top 25 wins. I'm saying it's true.
They avenged the loss of the Texans.
That Notre Dame needs to be booted out of the 4th. Like, just looking at this, just randomly looking at the schedule, Clemson's an 11.5-point favorite going into that game against Notre Dame. If you're nearly a 2-touchdown dog, I don't think you're one of the top.
Yeah, exactly. So you think if Oklahoma and Ohio State played on neutral site, Oklahoma would win?
I would make a case that they would win, yes.
Their defense is just pure ass. They don't stop anyone.
Yeah, but nobody really stops them. Like, they're
Well,
there's good offense.
There's not really great defenses.
Well,
in
shit,
the Big
Purdue fucking stopped Ohio State once. So,
obviously,
Fair point.
I don't know all the Big 12 stats, but I would assume that the Big 10 defenses would be better than the Big 12 defenses.
no, it depends.
You've got Wisconsin in there, normally has a good D. Nebraska,
not being good.
Michigan. So, but
Nebraska's been dumb.
these are good.
Yeah, Nebraska is a team of old that was good.
Okay, but these are good defenses. Texas defense is dumb. Texas Tech, do they even play defense? They just they just let them score so they can get back on the field.
It's like there wasn't. So what? The lowest amount of points that Oklahoma scored all year was 28.
I wonder what the best defense they played though.
So they played. So they opened with. I don't count Florida Atlantic. They played UCLA, Iowa State, Army, Baylor, Texas. Yeah,
Texas is probably the best defense. TCU's defense never been good. They just scored 15 points. Texas Tech, don't even look at that game because their defense is
Oklahoma State,
also turd.
Kansas, West
It's like
Virginia.
all these teams are just high scoring teams. That they
Damn, I was
put
gonna say. Yeah.
If they played Ohio State with fucking Bosa's brother just destroying just off the line every time, like
He's not
Nick Bosa's not playing.
playing. Isn't he the one that's waiting to get? Or is that a different guy?
That's Ed Oliver that's not playing the bowl game from Houston.
No, I thought there was.
I'm pretty sure
I
Bosa's out as
thought
well.
there was a
He's not
lineman from
playing.
Ohio State.
Yeah.
Well, he chose to not play.
Maybe because they're not in the
So he
playoff.
could be. No, he chose to not play majority of the season,
He is
so that he
playing most of
could,
the time.
so that he could be drafted and not get
Regardless,
injured.
okay, so to use my own argument against me, granted, I think this would be the case for anybody that Bama plays. Bama's a 2-touchdown favorite. Going into the game.
I think. I know we don't want to see the same teams, and it's all based on what you do on paper, and I get that. But I think the 4 best teams in college football this year, 2 of them did not make the college football playoff. I think Georgia beats everyone in the college football playoff but Alabama. I think they.
I would
Clemson.
second that statement. Yeah, I would second that. After watching
Say that again.
their game, Georgia would beat everybody in the playoff currently. So Clemson, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma. Georgia would win. The only team out of the top 4 right now that they would not beat is Bama, the team that they just lost to.
They lost to LSU the first time.
Georgia?
Georgia's other one loss is LSU.
Isn't Georgia SEC?
Yes.
They don't play Bama.
You don't play.
They're different. The SEC is split into 2.
Oh, just like
divisions
that's
like us.
Yeah,
okay.
there's like 13 teams.
So you don't always play the other team.
So Georgia lost to LSU.
Yeah.
Who Bama shut out.
Yes.
That looks like a bad loss in my book. Then.
But then you play Bama and only lose by a touchdown.
They dominate 3/4 of that game.
After you beat Alabama last year.
So
I get
then-
that last year.
So
but
then, using that argument against you, so they lost to their backup. You can look at it a lot of ways, but I don't.
I think bottom line, I think if you're going to say that anybody got snubbed this year, that's using just the pure, this system is designed to put the 4 best teams in college football to play against each other, Georgia got snubbed, even though they're a 2-loss team.
yes, I think so. I think Georgia's the only team that has a gripe. I don't think Ohio State has a gripe. I just think that they're one of the 4 best teams. They can't complain because the system is the way it is. But if it's not solely record based, I think Georgia clearly showed people that they're better than Oklahoma for sure, and probably better than Notre Dame. And I think you're going to see both those games. It's going to be Alabama Clemson, I think, in my mind. And I think you're going to see both those games probably cover the spread, if not more.